Good evening. Today we will be discussing Throne of Glass. Not to be confused with Throne of Ass. That's a different book. No! I'm gonna give a brief summary and then it's gonna be spoiler filled. We're probably gonna recap and review our thoughts. So if that is not what you are here for and you wanna read, leave and then come back when you are done.
Yeah, bye.
It's fine. Are you embarrassed to be a plant mom?
I just feel like a phony because I own like 3 houseplants.
And she's been so proud. So
I have
don't know
been
why
very
she's
proud. I'm gonna
being like
insert my monstera.
Insert my cactus. Alright, for a quick summary of what Throne of Glass is about. Celaena Sardathian, she is our main character. She was taken from the salt mines of Endovier as a slave to come be a champion in these games. I guess she wouldn't be a champion yet. She's competing to be the champion for the king, and that's where she will become the assassin for the king. She's the world's most notorious assassin, and that's why they go pluck her from Endovier to complete in the challenge.
And the dude that plucks her is the prince. What?
He is the prince. And that's basically it.
So the guy that goes pluck her from Endovier was the head of the king's guard, Kael, and he was taking her for the prince. So the prince, which is obviously the king's son, is making Celaena Sardathian his champion to go into these games to become the actual champion.
It's my dream. Should we try that again? All right, we're gonna try this again. Throne of Glass. Celaena Sardathian. Baked in buttery flaky crisp.
Baked in a buttery, crispy flake.
I'm sorry. It was kind of a scandalous decision, I think, to use Celaena as the champion to compete because she was chosen by the prince, who's the son, obviously, of the king. And the king's the one that sent her to the slave mines, right? If I remember correctly from Assassin's Blade. So it was a very scandalous decision, and it was kind of like sticking it to his dad to choose Celaena to be in the competition.
I definitely stand by the decision to read Assassin's Blade first, because literally from like page 1, there's so many references to Assassin's Blade. And if you know, you know, and you get that backstory, and if you don't know, I feel like this book would have been so much less enjoyable.
Yeah, I didn't read it first, and it was a big regret. I think I would have enjoyed the book way more if I did, because you definitely enjoyed it way more than she did.
Celaena talks about being like such a badass all the time, but you don't really totally get to see it. Whereas in Assassin's Blade, you actually see the action, and it's just more, just more depth to the character. First, I want to talk about just the games. In my mind, I thought that that would have been the main focus of the book, and it really was not, so I was surprised.
I agree. When I first started reading, I was like, oh, this sounds like Hunger Games-ish. And because I read the Hunger Games before, for some reason, I thought that like fighting would be like to the death. And it was not at all. Like if you lose, you just like get sent back into slavery or wherever you came from.
I'm free, I'm free. Dang it.
There was some funny business, like the main dude that she was kind of having to compete against, Kane, tried to like kill her in one of the events, but it wasn't like a thing to do. You just had to be the best in the event.
Yeah, like people could die, but it wasn't like you're fighting to the death.
They like brushed past most of the games. It was like, okay, today we're climbing a wall. I got this place. And that was about it. Totally brushed past that and instead focused on like, oh, what outfit am I wearing today?
At least in the beginning, from what I can remember, it was very much talking about, the whole plot seems like it's about the games, but then when you actually get to the games, it's like lackluster. They kind of like breeze through it.
I did like the poison game. They had one where they had to guess the poison that was in each glass. It was a different type and you had to put it from most poisonous to least poisonous.
Oh, then you had to taste it.
And then, yeah, the trick was that you had to taste the one that you thought was like the least amount of poison.
That is sort of an oaky afterbirth.
So if you were wrong, it could have been
And her
really
buddy
bad.
helped her, right?
She kind of cheated. She looked to the person on the side of her.
Oh, so it wasn't Nox?
I don't think so. But Nox
I
was
like
cute.
Nox.
He was one
He's
of
super
the criminals. I forget what he was. He was some sort of thief. Kind of the only friend that Celaena made amongst the champions. Everyone didn't know who she was. She was under an alias
That's
called
true.
Lillian.
Yes.
So they didn't know she was the notorious Celaena.
So they were like, who is this little girl?
Yeah. But he was one that was like, ma bets on you, and they would help each other train, and it was cute. She
Wow.
saved his life pretty much,
Yeah.
and his life in the game.
Yeah.
But she ended up also saving him from the castle when things start going awry. She gave him like a out. We have the big final like game at the end, but we'll get to that I guess in a bit. Let's talk about the love triangle. I pretty much knew nothing about this book going in, and I
neither.
did not know that there was going to be a love triangle at
Me
all.
neither. I
But-
thought for sure it was going to be Dorian.
Yeah.
I was all in Dorian Endgame.
I didn't know that Kaol was even in the running to be a love
Right.
interest. And
And she chooses him.
she chose. Is that what you just said?
Did I?
Roll the tape. Anyway, I like Dorian better personally just because I
Yeah.
felt like he was more charming. I did see like there was like a deeper connection with Kaol and Celaena, but I didn't get it as like a romantic connection.
You say that, but I don't know if that's necessarily true because I feel like Dorian and her like bonded on like books and like I felt like she was very intellectual with Dorian and I felt like that was deep. Like that wasn't like a surface level thing.
No, I don't think. No, that's what I'm saying. Let me finish. Her and Dorian did have more of a romantic connection, so I was surprised that it went towards Kaol. But I saw like a better friendship between Kaol because I think they spent more time. He was training her. They had like cute little moments together. I liked when after like Yule Miss or something, he went up to Celena's room and Kaol was like, "You shouldn't be in there by yourself, you know, it could be dangerous." And then Dorian was like, "Okay, fine," and he goes away, and then Kaol immediately goes in and is like, "Here's a little potty favor from the..." And he gives her like a ring. I was like, that was sneaky little rat.
Kaol re-gifted her a ring that was a gift to him and Dorian got her a whole entire puppy and I think that is a way better gift.
And her name is Fleetfoot.
So the whole time Celena's like chillaxing in her rooms, reading Dorian's books that he keeps sending her.
That was also
with
so
the
cute.
puppy that Dorian gave her.
Celaena wrote a letter to Dorian and was like, "Please, if you may, let me read a little bit of your books. Just this lowly wench like me
She
just
literally
wants
said it
to
like that,
read."
too. It was
Yeah,
funny. It was,
and
like,
he was
making fun
like,
of her
"Yes,
being
of
a
course,
prince.
but you must read these books first because I read these and I want to discuss it." I was
Yeah.
like,
I choose Dorian for myself. There were cute moments with Kaol, so I was like, okay, whatever. But as a whole, I really feel like Kaol's more basic bitch.
Very
Like,
vanilla.
Dorian had, yes, vanilla. Perfect word. I think Dorian had way more personality.
I agree. I am also team Dorian
Yeah.
for myself.
She can keep
But
Kaol.
like I do like Kaol. She always just describes Dorian as like hotter than Kaol, so immediately
in a book that's all
okay.
that it
Specifically about Dorian, I want to talk about my theories.
takes. Okay.
Dorian is described as not really looking like the king at all. He has these sapphire blue eyes, which is different. I think his hair was different. They don't know where he really got his looks from. They kind of mention that a few times. First, I'm like, okay, maybe he's not actually the son. So I think Dorian isn't a Haviliard, but I think that Celaena might be, and it's because there's a moment where she goes behind the tapestry in her room and she finds the secret like tomb of this old queen and king. The queen was part fae. They were part of the Haviliard.
Her name's Elena, and she keeps showing up to Celaena, acting like she knows something Celaena doesn't, and that Celaena needs to win these games because there's like a bigger,
It's for the common good.
there's something big at stake that we don't know about yet.
Just the way they describe Elena, it seems like they might have similar features to Celaena. Maybe there's a weird relation there, and I think that Celaena has to be magical. I feel like there's no way around it because that's what they keep alluding to. Let's talk about Nehemia. So Nehemia is a princess from Elway. Is that how we
Elway.
say it? Oh! Dang, she's gonna have to correct everything I say.
And I will.
She is brought to the kingdom in Otterlin and she's trying to learn the common tongue. Her lands were something that magic was happening in, and so like a lot of her people were slaughtered, and
like back in the day, like 10 years ago.
Yeah, she's kind of like a rebel princess, we find out, kind of undercover in the castle grounds. Celaena befriends her, and Celaena doesn't know that she's kind of like sneaky at the moment.
I did not trust her. I'm just throwing that out there. I was like very suspicious of her.
I did not trust her initially either, but I didn't
she
know
was
if it was
very
good or
welcoming
bad.
of Celaena. I'm like, I don't know you like that.
Celaena was the only one that could actually kind of speak to her in her native tongue.
Yeah.
She asks Celaena to help her with English lessons, and so they create a little bond from that.
I don't remember how it happens, but she ends up like seeing under her bed and there's like word marks, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, she's trying to figure out what they are because we know
she
that
sees
they're
like
like
symbols under her bed and she's like, that's weird, and she's able to rub them off of the floor.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
she freaked
does.
out first. She was like, oh God, I've been hexed.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a big thing that started happening. A lot of the competitors were being picked off.
They were getting murdered in like very, very weird and brutal ways, like
they were getting
blood
eaten.
and like
it looked
yeah.
like big chomp marks out of them, and it was only happening to the competitors. I don't know why Celaena wasn't more cautious.
Yeah, she's like, I'm cool, I'm a badass, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Before every single games almost, you would find out that another competitor got murdered in some brutal, freaky, mysterious way, and that nobody knows like how. And she was also getting like bullied.
Yeah, by Kane.
There was,
he
like,
had
some-
a little 4-person group that were
He
mean
was
to
like
her.
the big brute that was like the favorite to win the whole thing. She felt like every time she saw him, he was getting even more jacked and was like, what the hell's up with that dude?
Yeah, which she wasn't suspicious enough of that. She saw this man in the middle of the night, like, muttering something.
What? What happened?
In the middle of the book, I was like, huh. Notices that he's getting, like, stronger every time she sees him at the competition. And she's like, huh. And if there was any even evil villain, it would be that
It's
guy.
obviously that guy.
And guess what? It was that
It
guy.
was that guy.
Nehemia was a little red herring thrown in there. I
Yeah,
think,
and I
but-
fell for it because I was like, Nehemia.
Because that would have been a better reveal than Kane. Kane seemed too obvious,
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So Celaena, behind this tapestry in her room, finds a trap door.
Yeah, she
Oh,
finds
no.
secret passages.
That's where she found the tomb, but she also found an escape out of the castle and opted to stay in the castle.
I think the point was that it was there if anything went south and she needed to go, but for the meantime, she'd prefer to just like win the challenge and like be free afterwards. But yeah, so she also is always using that to get around the castle, sneaks in and spies on some parties she wasn't invited to.
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
She thought that there was like none of the champions would be invited to the parties. She finds like a secret passage to the party. All of the people are there besides Kane. And she's like, what the hell?
Literally, her and Kane were isolated. They were like two.
Those ones are scary.
Yeah, those ones can be too much.
Yeah.
She does sneak her way to another party though after that.
She does.
She was like, I'm going
And
to the
she has her
masquerade ball.
Cinderella moment. The mask on, everyone thinks she's Lillian.
Yeah.
She comes down and Dorian and Kale are like,
Celaena totally got pretty privilege because if she was nasty, ugly, she would be trapped in her room at all times. They wouldn't. She just walked past the guards and they were like, oh, you're pretty. You can go to the ball.
yeah.
Concubines.
So one of these times that she's running around in the tunnels doing what she does best, and then she like hears weird inhuman sounds.
She comes across Kane. He sees her and he's like, oh, you weren't supposed to be next, but I guess now's a good time as any.
So exposed, Kane has been the one that's been murdering all of
He's been the big bad.
contestants.
In my mind, honestly, I was like, it can't be Kane.
It's too obvious.
Because
Who
it's
else
too
is it?
obvious.
That's why I was like leaning towards Nehemia.
So he summons this demon creature called the Ritterak, who devours people and takes its strength and gives it to the person
kinda
that kind of
humanoid?
summoned it. Yes.
It gives
I
me
think
like
so.
Minotaur vibes.
Yeah, that's...
And it sounds really freaky.
For
Yeah.
some reason in my mind I had large rodent vibes. Like the
Rodents
RUSs.
of yeah, unusual size.
I don't think they exist.
He casts this thing on Celaena and she's running and she defeats the Ritterak.
It just goes back upstairs.
And goes back like normal, ready for her day at the competition.
And
like
Kane's there and it's
yeah.
just like, okay.
This book is so funny because I feel like it glosses over what you would think would be the action-packed moments and focuses on like the nothings. But
That's-
I enjoyed it at the same time.
There is also a reveal that Nehemia knows what all of these mysterious markings and stuff are, and they're called word marks. And by the end of the book, you realize that the markings under Celaena's bed, Nehemia was using those to protect her from the Ritterak.
Washing them
And
away.
Celaena was thinking
laugh.
someone was like hexing her and was erasing them. And Nehemia was like, it was so annoying having to go in every night and redraw the marks because you kept like erasing them. So there's this other character named Celaena, and she was another one of those like women of the court that was like invited there. She was there to kind of hopefully be a suitor of Dorian's. You actually get her point of view in the book, and so you can tell that she like really is like has aspirations to like rise in ranks and in royalty. She's there for Dorian, and Dorian is just running around all over the place with Lillian, which is Celaena.
And
So Celaena hates Lillian's guts.
Yeah. So she's using Lord Parrington as
Lord Parrington.
Duke Parrington.
Parrington.
He's something.
She's allowing this duke that's like older and like kind of yucky to like court her, but really she's there to try and get Dorian.
She finds out that it's Celaena Sardathian, and her and Parrington plan to poison Celaena right
In the
before
final challenge.
the final challenge,
Yeah.
so that she's kind of weak when she's battling Cain.
Which brings us to the final challenge. Celaena and Cain are the final two, as was predicted, and so they have to kind of fight hand-to-hand combat.
It was cute because Kale comes up to her and is like, "Take my sword, it will help you in the battle."
You have my sword.
And Nehemia was like, "Great, take my staff."
And my axe.
And I thought that was like super badass. This girl fights hand to hand with like knives and swords, and Nehemia comes in like 5 minutes before the fight and is like, use my stick. Sure.
good to me.
Like it was nothing.
And I'm surprised that she chose the stick just because I feel like wood would not be as fierce as
Yeah, also-
steel. I don't know. What do I know?
It was also like making a statement to use the staff. It was the King of Otterland that slaughtered Nehemia's people, right?
Yes.
So that went down earlier in the book. So
was
Nehemia
kinda
giving
like
her the
a-
stick to use
yeah.
was a F you to the king. Yeah, like standing in solidarity with Ilway.
So before the match begun, they were at the King's Tent. The sneaky thing was that Celaena and Parrington planned to poison Celaena's cup.
Was it like a toast before the games? And it was the same poison that she did not identify in the challenge before, which was clever.
Yeah, and she had no idea.
And she had
'cause
no
she
idea.
drank it up and was like, "Let's go." And they start their battle. She starts feeling like she's getting a little laggy.
She's
"What's going
like,
on?"
what the hell? Like my reflexes are not reflexing.
Dorian and Kale are like, "Oh God, do we help her? What
Yeah.
do we do?" And she starts hallucinating because Cain starts summoning all these demons.
He's doing something,
Yeah.
which is weird because like there's not supposed to be magic, so that part kind of confused me.
And Celaena's like on the ground, thrashing, screaming,
Panicking.
seeing all these crazy creatures.
She's also just getting the absolute shit beat out of her
Yeah, it's
because
not
she's
good.
drugged.
She has some help on her side. Kale is kind of on the corner, like, "Get up, you can do it!"
Yeah.
And Nehemia is over there making little word marks.
She's making
trying to
word marks
suck
on the floor.
poison out.
Yeah, she starts realizing that whatever she's writing on the ground is like helping that poison feeling to like leave her body.
And Elena also comes to her during that time, like, "You got this. When the
Yeah.
poison comes out is your chance to do the blow." Celaena somehow, once the poison's all out, is able to kind of stand up and defeat Cain. She doesn't kill him, she just defeats him, and she becomes the king's champion. Before you could celebrate, Cain and the king, I think they both kind of gave a little conspiratorial
Little
glance.
papa
And
glance.
Cain went behind Celaena as her back was turned.
Yeah.
But Kale was on it and he was like, "No!" And slays Cain right there. Blood everywhere.
Dorian felt really guilty for not intervening, but I don't think you could, like, it would have been cheating
Yeah.
if any of them intervened before that, and
That's
Dorian
true.
was in the stance next to the king. And then after all that went down too, he was like, she was poisoned. Parrington was like, poison? What? It was Celaena!
And she was like, "Huh? No!" And they take her away.
Yeah,
to
and
the
so he
dungeons.
totally threw her under the bus. And so she's like, what the actual F? I thought I was playing Parrington all this time, and Parrington was totally playing me.
Yeah, you find out he has some sort of power, like of mind control over
Yeah.
her.
And that's why she was getting like headaches.
Yeah,
'Cause it mentions her
I
having
thought that was
headaches.
cool because
Yeah.
there's a bunch of times they mentioned her getting
so
headaches.
there were little nods to it, to like thinking something was going on.
Yeah.
There. Last we see of her, she's just getting carted away, and you don't know what happens.
And that's kind of where the book ends. Celaena becomes the king's champion, and she has to spend 4 years, I believe, under his rule, doing his bidding.
So one step closer to freedom, and she ends the book in love with Chaol.
Let me tell you my predictions for the future, but they wouldn't say anything. She 100% is probably not going to spend 4 years with the dang king. That's too long. She's going to overthrow him somehow.
Overthrow, dang.
Well, I don't know. She's gonna dispose of him somehow and shatter the glass castle. At the beginning of the book, she walks in the castle and she's like, oh God, who would ever go glass castle? This is the stupidest thing ever.
That's actually kind of random.
What?
The whole book is called Throne of Glass, and I feel like they just like mention it in the beginning, and then it's just like whatever.
Yeah. I think that she's gonna shatter it and it's gonna be epic. And then I
Way
think that
epical.
she's gonna be magical. I don't know if she's gonna be like a witch or like a fairy. But I think she's gonna be something grand. Final ratings.
I rated it a 3.5.
I rated it a 3.75. I just wanted room to grow because I hear the series really takes off, and I liked Assassin's Blade better.
I did Assassin's Blade 4.25. So
Yeah. Without Assassin's Blade, this would be nothing.
if I read Assassin's Blade first, I think my rating would have been higher.
Speaking of Assassin's Blade, literally on page 2, and I marked it, she said, I will not be afraid. And you would think that's nothing, but if you read Assassin's Blade, it is everything!
I need to
Oh, it killed me.
apologize to Sam. This is my personal apology because I did not read Assassin's Blade first.
She didn't care about Sam
And
at
I
all.
heard that Sam died, and I'm like, Sam? Who's Sam? I don't give enough about Sam. Then I read Assassin's Blade, and I cried. And I absolutely love Sam, so my deepest apologies to Sam.
Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go start
Yeah.
Crown of Midnight now.
Tell
and
us your
we will
thoughts.
See you.
That's it. Bye!
Bye!